And we'll see if this microphone works better. I took apart my dash cam and added in it was a polyethylene foam. Hopefully it acts as a P filter or pop filter or whatever you call it, and not silence the mic altogether. I think it was just it just picked up road noise a bit too much. So we'll see how that goes. Unless you're just complaining. I want more. But people do like to hear about the cost of living here versus America. Like, how much is a unit of this or a unit of that? Because even though Ireland it isn't too expensive on the grand scheme of the European cities, Dublin is very expensive on capital cities. I think it's like the third most expensive capital city. Nice. Dude in his 77 Volvo. You don't see too many of those turbo brakes. Might not have been turbo, but you don't see too many of those around. Like, if you're comparing a few things that would be fairly like a standard unit, something you'd buy, or like a standard expense, living in Ireland in the lesser populated areas would be very similar to, say, the Midwest of America. Dublin being on the very expensive side, it's, I think, another 40% more expensive, like buying houses and stuff. That would, it wouldn't reach New York expensive or, say, LA or San Francisco expensive. San Diego, all those places that are super high demand type real estate places. Those would definitely be more expensive, but you could easily spend you could spend $200,000 easy on a house outside of Dublin, in the suburbs. That's about where they start. The city part, though, you're looking at 300, and that's a fixer-upper. You're real small footprint. I want to say 80-something square meters, but what is that, about 900 to 1,000 square feet? Is like 85 square meters. I don't know. That's jumping back and forth between imperial and metric, man. See, it just fried me there. I lost my train of thought. See, so yeah, just your average 2-bedroom apartment, you're going to probably find price tags starting around €225,000. And that's San Diego, maybe even some middle-sized cities prices. Because if you're more central, you're going to pay for the convenience. But if you go to, like, houses, like in Dublin, you wouldn't expect to spend less than $300,000. And if the price is $400,000, the advertised price is usually the starting point on property here. Now, there was a time between like 2008 and 2012 when people were just taking whatever offer they could afford to take for a house, but that has long passed. The market is recovering and nearly at the point of what it was before 2008. So if a house was $300,000 in 2008, it would have been maybe $180,000, $200,000. If you could get a loan, someone could get a loan to buy it from you. Most people were expecting, if they could afford to sell, about 2/3 of what it was in 2008. So you fast forward a few years to now, yeah, that same house that was 300 grand. Oh, jeez, man. They weren't giving me much room to merge. That same house would have been 300 grand-ish now. And if you can find one, and they list it for 300,000, you're likely going to pay 10 to 20% on top of that by the time the bidding war is done. It's just the loans are available now, but the property is just, it's not. And a lot of people can't afford to sell because they can't afford to buy the bigger house that they're wanting. So it's still a bit of a crunch. I mean, the supply is definitely a lot less than the demand here, and that creates a lot of bidding. And some places are selling for a lot more than you'd expect, even when considering where the market was averaging a few years before the credit crunch. But on small things, you can pretty much go 1-to-1 right now, euro to dollar. There isn't a big difference at the moment. So if, say, you go to buy, your average Apple phone or Google phone, if it's $200 in America, it's probably around $250 here. Now that they do, a couple places have it. If it's $200 in America, it's 200 euro here. But with that, you're looking at adding another, the 23.5% automatically on top of that. But that's usually calculated in the price as it says on the shelf. And that's one thing I didn't really notice coming to Ireland from a place where, outside of, I think in America, the only thing that has the tax included is, depending where you live, a used car, or I think gasoline. I think that's about it. Maybe cigarettes and alcohol. I don't know. I was never a smoker, and I never really drank much, so I don't know if they have the tax included on alcohol. But I do know with fuel, if it's $1.50 a gallon or $2, whatever, that's what you pay when you buy that full gallon. Where everything else in America, they add the tax on at the register, and because different things are taxed at different rates, it's just an estimate on what you're going to pay when you get up to the counter. So it's a bit annoying when you go from, if you pick up 10 things here and it adds up to €7, you get to the counter, it's €7. So that what the price is includes tax. It's very handy. And it's easy to add things up to a nice even number. No, I mean, you might not get as much for that €10 as you would, for something if you're going in by, say you buy milk, it's €1.50 per liter usually, something like that. You buy a couple of liters, you're spending, €6 on a gallon. Well, you get up there, and you go to America and you buy a gallon of milk. I think it's what, $3, $4. So that's a bit cheaper. Gasoline's way more expensive in Ireland. It usually floats around like €1.30 to €1.50 a liter. So that comes out, after the exchange rate, to about $6 to $8 a gallon. That's no fun, especially if your car is really thirsty. It's kind of funny. I went into a gas station. It's hard for me to use the term now because I'm used to saying petrol station. I went into a gas station in America after living here for a few years, and it was prepay. So I put $100 on the counter, and I said, yeah, I'm gonna fill up on pump whatever, you know. And the guy looks at me, you driving a tank, man? And I was like, no, you know, how much is it to fill up? You know, it was a big Ford Explorer. So I thought, you know, it was going to be $70, $80. No, it was like $35. They thought I was some rich dude. I was like, hell no, give it back. But, what are we doing here? Sometimes people signal way before they're going to merge, or they go and signal right as they merge. Those are some brown shorts moments if they don't give you any warning. Actually, I have quite a few dash cam videos that there were some serious close calls. People they're turning now, and they signal at the same time they're yanking the wheel, so there's no warning. But that would be very similar to America. You know, you get good drivers, and then you get some awful drivers. Some people that they forget that they're not the only car on the road. I don't know how these people live day to day, but it must be a lonely place thinking you're the only person in the world. But car parts would be pretty expensive in Ireland. But what kills you is the shipping. It's an island, so most things would come from a lot of car parts are still made in England, but you know, everything else is starting to be made in China as well. Even though it's on the opposite side of the world, it's still cheaper to ship it all the way here. And you go in for a set of spark plug wires or HT leads, and the guy goes, oh yeah, that'll be here on, you know, say a 3 or 4 day wait, and it's €15 freight, and they're €50 for the leads, and it's only a 4-cylinder, so you're buying just four wires, but it costs you upwards of €75. Or if it's something that's not common to the island, you end up with a kind of a special order situation, and things start getting real expensive, especially if you take it in for a service. Pretty much anything you do, they're going to charge you €100. Oil change, €100. Timing, actually, what's funny though is because enough people change clutches fairly often here, because there's a lot of manual gearboxes. Clutches are a little cheaper, I think, than in America. Even the clutch services, when people go and change them for you, they'll drive to your house, and in your driveway they'll change your clutch in 3.5, 4 hours on the more common vehicles. I mean, if you got something ridiculous or mid-engine, then, well, that's your bad. But, yeah, if it's, Ford Focus, the guy can pop the clutch in and out pretty quick. But, I still think it's like €250, €300, but, I mean, I think you're paying that in America as well. I've only ever changed clutches on cars I just bought, so I didn't pay anybody to do it. That usually took me about 10 hours because I was working in my driveway. But the clutch kit would have only cost me $150. Nope. I think that's hopefully a successful test of my new microphone. We'll see how far this goes, and hopefully it doesn't sound like I'm talking to you from, from the outside of the car, maybe. It's all muffled. So, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully I can get some Subaru Leone videos up here shortly. I did when I was in America. I picked up a water pump and some brake line bending, a couple pliers and things, some bolts, all the things to do a brake unsticking on a car that's sat for probably 30 years, maybe longer. But yeah, if I don't have the video up, I'd like to do it this weekend. It'll be a video on a 1978 Subaru Coupe FE, and it's a strange little car. Handbrake goes to the front wheels, the front are disc, the rear are drum, and they stick really bad to the very rusty discs and drums. So hopefully I can get that working and the car can move under its own power. The issue I'm also having is the water pump was completely fried, and luckily I was able to find one. They had one in America that was matching my model, so that was good. Hey now, dude. Jeez, this guy's all swervy. But a little shout out to O'Reilly Auto Parts in Tampa. There were two guys that went above and beyond the normal Call of Duty kind of thing, and they tracked down two water pumps. One was incorrect, and the other one was correct. And yeah, they definitely helped me out a lot, because that wouldn't have been easy to find in Ireland, especially since I have the only Subaru Coupe and probably one of only 5 Subaru 1.6 liters from the 70s here in the entire island set, the UK and Ireland. So yeah, way cool. Okay, alright, catch you later.